بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضاه. إخوتي في الله، نقرأ من كتابنا صفة النبي. I'm going to read directly from our book صفة النبي الخلقية والخلقية, his physical features and his character. We passed the chapters dealing with his physical features. الآن نحن في خلقي. خلق هو المفرد، أخلاق هو جمع. يا من طيب قال رفقه صلى الله عليه وسلم ورقة قلبه عليه الصلاة والسلام. The Prophet's kindness, he was kind and his heart was soft. والعلماء لهم أبواب يسمى باب الرقائق وباب الرقاق. يسمى في البخاري باب الرقائق في البخاري، وفي مسلم باب الرقاق. نعم، يعني الأمور التي يرقق القلوب. There are affairs that soften your heart. نعم، لأن الهart تصيبها قسوة. Sometimes the heart becomes hardened from the affairs in the world. نعم. So the ulama, they made chapters specifically for things that soften the heart. Ayat wa hadith yajma'uha. They gather up ayat and they gather up hadith. And then people are reminded that they need to be reminded of that. هناك آيات ذكر الله فيها السكينة. There are ayat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the sakina. There are ayat Allah mentioned فيها موعظة وأحاديث, strong admonitions. كل بحسبه. قال حفظه الله تعالى عن مالك ابن حويرث. ما كنيته؟ مالك ابن حويرث. عندك يا أبو سليمان؟ ما أنت. طيب، عندي سؤال. عندك يا أحمد؟ الحديث صلوا كما رأيتموني أصلي من صحابي؟ من أخرجه؟ لا عندك بس. وأنا سألنا أبا مالك. عائشة. عندك يا عادل؟ هذا الصحابي right here. أبو سليمان مالك بن حويرث. نعم. قال أتيت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في نفر من قومي. I came to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم of a group of people, of a group from my people. You know, كلهم من نفس القرية. They're from the nafs. They're from the same place, same village, same tribe. فأقمنا عنده 20 ليلة. We stayed with the Prophet 20 days. يعني سافروا عنده. They traveled to the Prophet, a group of men, and they stayed with the Prophet 20 days. كان رحيما رفيقا. He was merciful and kind to us. And هم ضيوف. They're guests with the Prophet. They left their families. They're on the road. تغير عليهم الجو والطعام وكل شيء. The weather changed on them. Their food changed. والسفر قطعة من العذاب. The Prophet said that traveling is a part of punishment, a portion of punishment. فلما رأى شوقنا إلى أهالينا قال ارجعوا فكونوا فيها. When he saw that we were in dire, we wanted to go back to our families. We missed our families, that we desired our families. He said, go back and stay with your families. وَعَلِّمُوهُمْ وَصَلُّوا إِذَا حَضَرَتْ الصَّلَاةِ. He said, teach them what you benefited from here. Teach them. فإذا حضرت الصلاة فليؤذن لكم أحدكم وليؤمكم أكبركم. He said, if the salah comes in, the time of the salah comes in, then one of you call the adhan, and the biggest of you, the oldest of you, lead the salah. Biggest of you, lead the salah. وذكر هذا الحديث في هذا الموطن. The author, المؤلف, he mentioned this hadith, and it says, فَلَمَّا رَأَى شَوْقَنَا إِلَىٰ أَهَالِينَا. When he saw that we desired to go back to our families. I mean, كيف رأى هذا? How did the prophet see that they wanted to go back to their families? And it حسس. You know, he looked, you really see how they're struggling, what they're going through. And he نظر جيدا. He looked well. فهذا يدل على الرفق. That shows his kindness and his concern. فهؤلاء جاءوا لطلب العلم وزيارة النبي. These people, they came to gain knowledge about Islam and to meet the Prophet. Imagine this trip. Now, this is not a regular trip. They're going to meet the Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they're going to ask about Islam. هل عندهم أسئلة? Do you think they have some questions? Oh, they have some questions. They're going to benefit. So what does the Prophet say to them? Urji'u fakunu fihim. Go to your family, be in them. وَعَلِّمُوهُمْ, and teach them. فَمَنْ ذَهَبْ وَاسْتَفَادَ عِلْمًا يَرْجِعُ إِلَى أَهْلِهِ. Those that go overseas and they travel and they study, they have to come back. They have the responsibility of conveying knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول وَإِذَا حُيِّيتُمْ بِتَحِيَّةٍ فَحَيُّوا بِأَحْسَنَ مِنْهَا أَوْ رُدُّوهَا. If somebody gives you the salams, then you return it better than it or like it. So when they come back from studying, they have to give better than it or like it. They can't do less than it. Ya Aba Muawiyah. They can't study from the ulama, mashallah. They're giving up time. They're merciful with them. They're patient with them. They take their time to explain it well. And they come back and they explain it real quick. And فَرُدُّوا أَحْسَنْ مِنْهَا أَوْ رُدُّوهَا. Better than it, better than what they did, or like it. Ya ma'in, that's ma'in. No. They can't go over there and get it for free and come back here and charge money for it. من كلفك؟ من المشايخ قال هات المال من أجل الدروس؟ من؟ No. Well, we had to pay rent over there. We had to pay rent over here too. هذا as to so what هؤلاء. What do you think these people did when they went back and taught their families? MashaAllah. ينشرون Islam. They're spreading Islam to these people that never met the Prophet. Never saw the Prophet. And they picked up from him things. Even the Prophet said, إِذَا حَضَرَتِ الصَّلَاةِ فَلْيُؤَذِّنْ لَكُمْ أَحَدُكُمْ وَيُؤُمُّكُمْ أَكْبَرُكُمْ. هذه أوامر. He said, when you go back and the time of the salah comes in, one of you call the adhan. As for the imam, في حديث آخر إن نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول يؤمكم أقرأكم بكتاب الله. The one who leads the salah, is the one who has the most Quran. Here he says أكبركم. يعني ميزة الإمام يعني أرفع من المؤذن. والمؤذن أحدكم. The mu'adhin could just be anyone. But the imam has to be the biggest one, the oldest one, or the one that has the most Quran. فشاهدنا هذا يا إخوة عندما نحن نطلب العلم لابد يكون فينا رغبة أن نكون علماء. We have to have desire that hopefully one day we will be ulama. التوفيق من الله. لكن we have to have desire to be ulama, and tawfiq is from Allah. لكن بعض الناس رضوا أن يبقوا طلابا. Some people they just want to remain طلاب. كيف يعمل الصعب؟ هذا بتوفيق الله كله صعب. ولكن لابد نسعى. قصدي لابد نسعى، نحاول نعم. لابد نحفظ. We have to memorize like they memorized. نعم. ولابد من حفظ، لابد من فهم، لابد من دراسة، لابد من إتقان. نعم. We have to memorize like they memorized. We have to perfect it like they perfected it. And we can't just be pleased with being tulab. Some of them are pleased like, I know the sheikh. Now I was with the sheikh. I know the sheikh. He knows me. I call the sheikh. And the thing, all he knows is the sheikh, sheikh, sheikh. I know the ayat. I know the tafsir of these ma'ani. I know these ahadith. No. كل شيء عنده I know the sheikh. That's it. ايش حفظت من كتاب الله تستطيع ان تشرح? What did you memorize from the book of Allah that you can explain? What you explain from ahkam والأصول that you can explain? نعم. ففرحوا بهذا ونعمة طيب. نعم. لكن توقفوا هنا. نعم. They are so pleased and fascinated with being students. They just stop right there. All they want to be known is that we know the mashayikh. That's it. That's it. وتوقفوا. أنا أتعجب بعضهم if it's a مسألة يسيرة. مسألة like give the salams. Don't say good morning. Say assalamu alaikum. Some of them instead of going to the ayat, في ayat that speak about that. Or there are hadith that speak about fadl of the salams. يقول يا إخوتي في الله الشيخ الألباني وأنتم تعرفون قدر الشيخ الألباني كان مفتي وكان كذا وكان كذا وكان كذا وكان من الأئمة كذا وكذا 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 وكذا. هو قال لا تقول صباح الخير قولوا السلام عليكم. يعني يحتاج ذكر الشيخ ومناقبه ومرتبته ومثله يؤخذ منه من أجل أن يقول هذا ايش ما تقول قال رسول الله ايش ما يقول. طيب عندما إذا سئل الشيخ عن هذا الشيخ الألباني عندما سئل هذا هل سيذكر شيخي تعرف مرتبته هو قال كذا وهو سيقول قال الله وقال رسول الله. ايش ما سيقول الشيخ الألباني؟ سيقول قال الله قال رسول الله. نعم. هذا لابد نصل إلى هذه الدرجة. نعم. هذا لمن لا يحفظ. نعم. ولا يستنبط وما درس وما قرأ لا بأس هذا. نعم. Someone that just want to say the way that they explain things is the ulama said this and they said that and you know their level. He was this, he studied with this and he studied with that, so that you can accept what he's saying. Naam. And then if you find the way that the ulama speak, they just say Allah said this and they explain the ayat. The Prophet said this and they explain the ayat. If it needs extra substantiation, you would say وهذا قول العثيمين وهذا قول. If it's something that's clear ما في خلاف, clear. هكذا يتصرفون فينبغي للطلاب أن يتصرفوا مثله. This is how they carry themselves. So for us to strive, carry ourselves like that. ولا النقل عن العلماء هو مطلوب. نعم. Taken from the ulama, that is the point. That is the مطلوب. نعم. بارك الله فيكم. هناك وفود الذي جاء إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. في حديث ابن عباس قدم وفد عبد القيس على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. There were a lot of expeditions that came to meet the Prophet. This is just one example. نعم. هذا مالك بن هويرث وأصحابه. They came in a group. There's a whole chapter of wufud that came to the Prophet. Groups of people that came to meet them. In Sahih Muslim, Bukhari Muslim, is the story of Wafd Abdul Qais. قدم على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حديث ابن عباس فقالوا إنا من هذا الحي من ربيعة ولسنا نصل إليك إلا في هذا الشهر الحرام. He said, we're from this area called Rabi'ah. It's not possible for us to come to you except في شهر الحرام, in these sacred months. Why is that? لماذا لا يصل إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في أشهر الحرم? Why that they can't get to the Prophet except during these 4 months? نعم يا نبي. نعم في قتل والقتال, it's fighting. نعم. So during these months they even though they were disbelievers, even though they were kuffar, أشهر الحرم لا قتال فيه. Though in these sacred months they did not fight. Even the disbelievers, they honored these أشهر الحرم. ما هي أشهر الحرم؟ ما هي أشهر الحرم؟ أحسنت. ذو القعدة ذو الحجة والمحرم، 3 متتابعات. And Rajab. And Rajab. So, during those months, this is the only time that this waft could get to the Prophet, because they had fighting with these other tribes. It's the only safe time they could come. فقال لا نصل إليك إلا في شهر الحرام. We can't get to you except during this month. فمرنا بشيء نأخذه عنك وندعو إليه من وراءنا. Give us some knowledge, command us with something that we'll take with us, and we'll call to it those people that we left behind. وهذه أمانة، وهذا الواجب. من استفاد من العلماء لا بد يؤدي. Those that benefited from the ulama لا بد يؤدي العلم. You have to convey knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of كتاب الله وسنة نبينا محمد. Knowledge of Quran and Sunnah. أحيانا يا إخوتي في الله, it's not possible just to come with that book to those people right there. Maybe that book is on a level higher than them. فكما ذكرنا من قبل, it's known that the ulama يحثنا على عقيدة. They encourage us to study عقيدة. We say this. Everybody right here doesn't know what عقيدة is. We say that word. We say this word. إخلاص, صبر, خوف, taqwa, khashya. We say this word, but if you ask everyone's going to have a different meaning of what it means. So when you say we have to study عقيدة, you get usul al-thalatha. Maybe usul al-thalatha is a little too big for them, ya akhi. Okay, that's what you did over there in Yemen. I understand that over there in Egypt. But I can look at who you're dealing with. Look at them. Explain to them, what is Aqidah? Explain to them. Teach them. You have to do the best. Are you a talib? You have to do it. But some of them, they're not on that level. Just they get the book and teach it. Then when they get the book and teach it, they don't teach it according to these people that are right here in front of them. They do it بشرح شيخ فلان. أصول ثلاثة بشرح شيخ فلان. شيخ فلان كان يدرس طلاب علم. يعني بعد في دروسه ممكن بعضهم طلاب أقوياء علماء. ما يناسب هذا الجمع الذي هو in Detroit, in Hamtramck, in Philadelphia, in New York, in Detroit, in Milwaukee. ما مثل الرياض. نعم. أحسنت هذا تنبيه طيب. حتى الشروحات يختلف, عثيمين يسترسل. He goes into the topic, he goes outside the topic. It's full of ilm, full of knowledge. You coming right there to see just the usul of thalatha, it might be on a level that's too high for them. Then when you go to explain the statements of another sheikh, that sheikh is talking to tulab ilm. عندهم مركز. So you, أيها الداعي, you have to look to who's in front of you and give them accordingly. ذاك عبد الصبور, ذاك عبد الكريم, ذاك أم خالد, ذاك فلان. You have to give them accordingly. أنت تعرفهم. You see where they go back to. You see the time that they have. Maybe that class that you're reading is a book, but it was a classes that were half-hour classes or 45-minute classes. ممكن ما عندك إلا 20 دقيقة. Maybe you only have 20 minutes. فأنت الداعي. هذا هو الداعي. هذا مفكر. He has a strategy. He has a strategy. So he sometimes has to start from the lowest point. He has to explain to them what is Aqidah. He has to explain to them فائدتها في حياتي. He has to show them the benefit of this in their life and why they need to study. Those over there, they already know why they need to study. That's why they traveled, and that's why they're sitting with the sheikh. They already know why they need to study it. They travel. How are you trying to keep them in the masjid? You're just trying to keep them in the masjid. فلا بد أن ننظر هكذا. فقال النبي آمركم بأربع وأنهاكم عن أربع. I command you with 4 things and I prohibit you from 4 things. وهكذا دعوتنا مبنيا على الأوامر والنواهي. You switch it up like that. When you go, you switch it up. Sometimes you talk about awamir, sometimes you talk about nawahi. Or you switch it up from what? الترغيب والترهيب. هذا المنبر. That's what it's for. Afwan, targhib. You encourage them. With Jannah and everything that leads to it. Watarhib, you threaten them, you warn them from the hellfire and everything that leads to the hellfire. Sometimes over here, sometimes over there. Sometimes ibadat, and sometimes what? Mu'amalat. Ibadat, yani fima baynaka wa bayn Allah. Wa mu'amalat fima baynaka wa bayn an-nas. Sometimes ibadat, that's between you and Allah. And sometimes in the way you treat one another and the rights one people have, the way you with your neighbor, the way with your mother, the way you with the stranger, the way you are with yourself. كل هذه المواضيع لابد تناله. نعم. وبعض الكتب يا إخوة كبيرة. يعني مثل أصول الثلاثة يحتاج وقت تكملها. It takes some time to finish that. You're talking 3 months. It takes time. نعم. كتاب التوحيد, these are big books, and that's الواسطية والطحاوية, these are big long books. What about Al-Barbahari? It's a big books. You need something mukhtasar. So the fact that you're the da'i, I mean, you're going to look at this book. Once you're going to take out that, you're going to take out that, you're going to take out that. You're going to take out of these masail, and you're going to teach it. So when the Prophet says, "Allimuhum," teach them according to their level. وهذا معنى قوله تعالى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى أي حيث نفعت الذكرى. يعني على حسبه. Remind when the reminder it benefits the people. A reminder is beneficial for them. There's no standard reminder. It has to be this book. It has to be that chapter. It doesn't have to be that book. But I can have a mawdu'. It has to be that topic. And you're going to teach it what? Accordingly. Barakallahu fikum. So the Prophet said, I command you with 4 and I prohibit you from 4. ثم فسرها لهم شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وأني رسول الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة. ما شاء الله 4. نعم. لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله الصلاة والزكاة. That's it. Why didn't he mention anything about the al-malaika? Why didn't he mention anything about the kutub? Why didn't he teach about qada wal qadr? That's going to come. That's going to come. These people just came for a short time. Now they're going back. Na'am. I'm commanding you with these things. Qala wa zakah an tu'addu ilayya al-khums ma ghanimtum. And that the Prophet gets a 5th of the ghanima. Wa anhaakum an ad-dubba wal hantam wal muqayyar wal naqir. فما معنى هذا من يجيب. The Prophet prohibited الدباء. ما هو الدباء؟ يا عادل أنت تعرفه. يا نبيل الدباء من قال هذا؟ ايش هذا يا عبده؟ ايش النبي ينهى عنه. هو نعم هو is that pumpkin. نعم الذي يحس فيها الحليب. يا عبد الكريم أنت معي أو قد راح عنك الذكيات؟ الدبة هذا. نعم الدبة وحنتها. لماذا this is حرام؟ أنهى عن الدبة والحنتم والمقير والنقير. النقير is the الجذع من النخلة. يعني يقطعونه وينقل داخله. They take out the middle of the tree. It's just that the trunk of the tree is there. In the middle, they take out of it. لماذا؟ نعم. ما شاء الله. نعم. هذه الأوعية، هذه الوعاء كان يصنع فيها النبيذ الخمور. These are the first things that khamr and intoxicants were made in. نعم. They would take like the shell of the pumpkin, the inside, and yasbud, it would be hot, so it would spoil and it would become intoxicants. Same thing with the tree. They would root out, take the middle of the tree and put whatever's in there. كان خمرهم آنذاك بالتمر والعنب. تمر وعنب والزبيب. Khamr, intoxicants at that time was made with dates and grapes and raisins. حتى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نهى عن النبيذ أن يجمع بين التمر وماذا والزبيب لأنه يثبت بسرعة. يعني ممكن أسرع مما تنتبه فتشربه وأنت سكران. نبيذ، ما هو النبيذ يا معين؟ Now, nabidh is a drink. They take dates and they soak it in water. Or they take raisins and they soak it in water. And then they mix it up and then they sift it. And what you get is like date juice. But these people will leave it until it yazban, until it foams up. And it becomes an intoxicant. The nabidh by itself is permissible. Nabidh is permissible. But if it spoils over, it becomes intoxicant. So they used to make it during the winter and during the summer. During the summer, maybe you can leave it. During the winter, you can leave it for 2 days. But in the summer, you have to be careful. You might make it during the day, and by the night, you have to drink it. If it goes all the way to the next day, it's spoiled. It's khamr. You have to throw it away. When you put two together, the Prophet prohibited of making the beef with dates and raisins together because it turns over real quick before you can recognize. But these 4 awani, these 4 vessels, they're natural vessels that the Prophet prohibited, it is permissible now. All of this is permissible now. This is just at the beginning of Islam. Barakallahu fikum. نحن في بارك الله فيكم كتاب الصلاة في باب المواقيت, the times of the Salah. ودائما أكرر that this book of Umdatul Ahkaam, how many hadiths is in it approximately? كم حديثا في Umdatul Ahkaam? فيه كتاب الصلاة, طهارة والصلاة, all the abwab al-fiqhiyya, all the chapters of fiqh. How many hadiths is in this book approximately? Approximately نعم يا 400 500 hadith. So when it comes to 100 hadith, it's a mukhtasar. It's a summary book. It doesn't have all the issues in it. وأحاديث هذا الكتاب مأخوذ من أين? All these hadith are taken from where? يا إخوة, هذا حديث عمدة الأحكام, Bukhari or Muslim. That's it. That's it. It's only Bukhari or Muslim. يعني حديث صحيح. هل يمكن واحد يتعبد الله يعني كاملا ببخاري ومسلم فحسب بدون ما في الترمذي وأبي داود وابن ماجه? Can somebody worship Allah and fulfill his salah totally and his wudu totally and zakah and everything just from what's in Sahihain without Abu Dawud and Tirmidhi? No way. No way. Nah, you need those other books. Nah, you need those other books. Nah. وهذا سبب تأليف الجامع الصحيح مما ليس في الصحيحين. أن أحد المشايخ للشيخ مقبل قال ما في الصحيحين يكفي. One of the teachers said, this is the reason why Sheikh Mukbal wrote this book, because one of his teachers said that which is in Sahihain is sufficient. He said it's not sufficient. So he wrote this whole book. First he wrote the Musnad. The Musnad is just 2 volumes. طيب ما معنى مسند يا فهمي؟ ما معنى مسند؟ The Prophet wrote, the Sheikh Rahimahullah wrote it Musnad, الجامع الصحيح and Musnad. Then he wrote it في أبواب الفقهية. Then he wrote it in the chapters of fiqh, which is 5-6 volumes. But first it was 2 volumes. It was Musnad. ما معنى مسند؟ نعم نعم يا عادل. طيب, this has asanid and that has asanid. ما معنى مسند إمام أحمد Musnad Imam Ahmad is not like Sunan al-Tirmidhi, Sunan Abi Dawood, Sunan Ibn Majah, Sunan al-Nasai, Sunan. This is about Musnad Imam Ahmad. Why is it called a Musnad? من رفع بيده عندك يا بشير. الصحابي. No. And Musnad is that he's going to bring all the hadiths of Abu Bakr. No matter if it's about Salah, about Jihad, about Zakah, all of Abu Bakr. In alphabetical order, he's going to keep on going down. The hadiths of Umar, the hadiths of Jabir, the hadiths of Abi Hurairah, all the hadiths of Abi Hurairah. It has nothing to do with what bab is. No bab. There's no chapter about wudu. That's not what it's about. It's just about hadiths that are outside of Sahihain. Hadith Khalid Sahihain, Al-Rawi, As-Sahabi, Abu Bakr. All of his hadiths, all the hadiths of Umar, all the hadiths of Jabir, all the hadiths of Ibn Umar, all the hadiths of Ibn Mas'ud, all the hadiths of but that came into 2 مجلد. الآن لما يبوبها في أبواب الفقهية خرج إلى 6 مجلدات. يا أبا أنوار أنت معي. نعم عمل عظيم. Then he put this book in the organization of the chapters of fiqh. You have to start with tahara. You have to start with purification. Then salah. And then this shows somebody's understanding. نعم. فابن حبان قال من ألف كتابا فكأنه وضع عقله على صحن يشوفه كل الناس. نعم. يعني ما هو سهل. نعم. Whoever writes a book is as if he took his intellect and he put it on a plate for everybody to see. This is my level of intelligence. This is what I have. Look. Look. So when you write, this is permissible, that's not permissible, bab, you have babs in it. When it's just a Muslim, it has nothing to do with you. You just gather the hadith of Abu Hurairah, the hadiths of Ibn Mas'ud, the hadiths of Jabir, the hadiths of the Aisha, the hadiths of the Asma. You just bring it in alphabetical order. That's what Musnad Imam Ahmad means. When you say Sunan an-Nisa'i, he has chapters in it. Nah. And that's what Sheikh Muqbil wrote, because one of his mashayikh said, that which is Sahihain is sufficient. But it's not. It's not. ولكن فيه خير كثير. وكلها من نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. All of it is from the Prophet. All of it. نعم. We're in the bab of Mawaqit. So when this book is mukhtasar like that, when this book is small like that, sometimes the teacher has to come with some other hadiths to make the fa'idah a little better. Or sometimes he can stick to it just according to, who he's dealing with, who he's speaking to. نقرأ حديثا ذكره الشيخ عبد الحميد في شرحه لعمدة الأحكام. عن جابر رضي الله عنه. We're in that book of the times of the Salah. The times of the Salah. عن جابر بن عبد الله أن جبريل أتى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ليعلمه مواقيت الصلاة. That Jibreel, he came to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم to teach him the times of the Salah. Jibreel came to the Prophet to teach him the times of the Salah. فتقدم جبريل ورسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم خلفه والناس خلف رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So the Prophet, Jibreel, he stood up in the front. The Prophet stood behind Jibreel, and the people stood behind the Prophet. فصلى الظهر حين زالت الشمس. He prayed Dhuhr as soon as the sun left the middle of the sky. وأتاه حين كان ذل الرجل مثل شخصه فصنع كما صنع فتقدم جبريل والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم خلفه والناس خلف رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فصلى العصر. Then he came to him, and Jibreel came to the Prophet when the shade of a man was equal to him own self. When the shade of an individual was the exact length of his own self. And they did the same thing. Jibril went in the front, then the Prophet came behind Jibril and the people behind him. And then he prayed with them what? Al-Asr. That's the time of Asr. What? How do you know when's the time of Asr? You know it by the vil. You know it by the shade of things. So when is the time of Asr come in? When the shade of something is equal to that thing. You might see a tree or a bush. The shade and the tree is the same height, the same length. Your own self, you might have a pole. It's the same length. طيب فإخواننا في هذا المسجد over there الهنود هناك من بنغلاديش, they pray Asr one what? أحسنت يا زين, الله يبارك فيك, الله يحفظك, ما شاء الله, هذا فقه, لا إله إلا الله, الله يبارك فيك. They pray when the shade of something is double it. And it's going to come in the hadith that the Prophet did that. The time is still in, but the beginning time is when the shade of something is equal to it. So are they praying at the right time? Yes, but they delayed it. They delayed it. They delayed it. But the time is still in. ثم أتاه حين وجبت الشمس فتقدم جبريل ورسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم خلفه والناس خلف رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فصلى المغرب. Then Jibril came to the Prophet when the sun set. وجبت. من يعرف هذه الآية؟ فيها وجبت بمعنى سقطت. وإذا وجبت جنوبها. يعني ايش اول الايه؟ والبدن جعلناها من شعائر الله لكم فيها خير فاذكروا اسم الله عليها صواف. ما معنى صواف يا عادل؟ Allah says البدن, the camel, we have made it for you from the signs of Allah. فاذكروا اسم الله عليها, slaughter it, صواف. ما معنى صواف؟ يا أبا أشرف, يا عبد الرحمن, يا من تعرف يا فهمي, يا محمود, يعني قائم. فاذكر اسم عليها صواف, like it's standing. فإذا وجبت جنوبها, she falls on her side. وجبت بمعنى سقطت. For Allah, the Prophet, they use this in this sentence. This is Jabir talking. He said that he came to him when wajabat ash-shams, meaning the sun set. So he prayed what? He prayed Maghrib at that time. ثم أتاه حين غاب الشفق. هذا دين. Then Jibril came back to him when the redness in the sky was gone. That's the time of Isha. ثم أتاه حين غاب الشفق فتقدم جبريل ورسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم خلفه والناس خلف رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فصلى العشاء. He came to him when all the redness was outside the sky. It's called the shafaq. And he stood in the front, and the Prophet stood behind him, and the people stood behind the Prophet. متى تظهر الشفق في السماء وأين يبدأ ظهورها. When does the first time, when does the shafaq, this redness, come in the sky? And where does it appear first? Where does it appear first? In the east. Now it appears in the east. Because the sun is setting over here in the west. It's bright, it's bright, it's bright. So if you're in the area, أنت في مكان ما ترى الشمس تغيب بسبب الجبال أو البنية. You don't see it because of the buildings. You don't see the sunset. Don't look over there. Look in this guy over here. So if you see some red, the sun has set. لا تشك. لا يهمك. Don't worry. If you see some red over there, then the sun has set. ونحن نعرف هذا من حديث عبد الله بن أبي أوفى أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان مسافرا وكان صائما فلما غربت الشمس قال انزل فاجدح لنا. The Prophet was traveling, when he was fasting. So when the sun set, he told somebody, get down and make the jadah, which is water and wheat. Na'am. قال لو أمسيت يا رسول الله. The Sahabi said, why don't you wait until the night comes? قال انزل فاجدح لنا. He said, get down and make this food for us so we can break our fast. قال لو أمسيت, said it 2 times. Why don't you wait till the night comes? Still up. قال انزل فاجدح لنا. قال إن عليك النهار. The Sahabi said, look, it's still bright. نعم. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ashara. He pointed in this guy over here. قال إذا أقبل الليل من ها هنا فقد أفطر الصائم. إذا أقبل الليل فقد أفطر الصائم. If the night has approached, then you break your fast. I mean, don't look that way. If you're not able to see the horizon, لا تنظر هناك إذا ما ترى الأفق. لأن الشمس مضيء. The shams is bright. نعم. لكن look over there. ما هي علامة إقبال الليل? What is the sign that the light has come? When you جيب الشفق. This redness that you see in the sky, that's the sign that the night has come. نعم. صحيح. نكمل. قال ثم أتاه حين انشق الفجر فتقدم جبريل ورسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم خلفه والناس خلف رسول الله فصلى الغداء يعني الفجر. Then he came to him حين انشق الفجر. طيب. When the fajr came, this word انشق have the meaning of what? Al-falaq. Falaq means to split. Na'am. Falaq means to split. Ibn Abbas, he says about this ayah, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ, he says it is subh. Na'am. Because the whole dunya is dark, it's black. Then all of a sudden you see a line, it splits the darkness. It actually splits it. Na'am. فَإِنْشَقَّ. Na'am. When كان موسى وبني إسرائيل يهربون من فرعون، الله سبحانه وتعالى قال يعني ضرب العصا فانفلق من هذه الكلمة فلق، فانفلق فكان كالطود العظيم. كان كل فرق كالطود العظيم. فانفلق. You lose this word that Musa split the ocean. And this is some word falaq. And this is what happens at Fajr. That the darkness is actually split. ولكن ما معنى الفلق؟ رب الفلق. ما معنى الفلق؟ Ibn Abbas said that it's just subh. But subh is just one example of it. ماذا قال مجاهد وغيره؟ قد ذكرناه قبل أيام. الفلق هو الخلق. Everything in existence comes in by splitting. The clouds, the rain splits the clouds. Al-uyun, yanshaq al-ard. The springs, they come from the ground. Now, a mother, the child splits through the mother. The egg splits through the chicken. The chicken splits through the egg. Everything in creation comes by the way of falaq ya Aba Muawiyah. Kullu shay. Now something Allah يخرج مثل النوى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول إن الله فالق الحب والنوى. Allah is the one who splits al-hab. He takes a corn, a seed. This tall stalk of corn that's like 15 feet tall comes this little seed. Who split it? Na'am. Even the ground splits and grass comes out of it. Everything in existence comes through by splitting something. If it's fish, if it's animals, whatever, if it's human beings, whatever it's water, whatever, if it's fruit. Look how the apple comes out of that flower. It's just a flower. And shaqqa comes out of it. Everything. فلذلك بعضهم يقول الفلق الخلق. نعم. ابن عباس قال الفلق الصبح. That's just one example. It's an example. But everything comes into an existence by falaq. فإن الله فالق الحب والنوى. And Nawa is like a date seed. Allah brings that big old tree out of that thing. فَوَأَنْتَ فِي ضِيقٍ, when you're in your troubles, who are you going to call? Ya Rabbul Falaq Kharijni. You're going to say, Ya Rabbul Falaq, get me out of this situation. Anta Rabbul Falaq. You're the one that brings something big out of a small thing. You're the one that opens things up and brings things out of it. Brings people out of sickness, brings people out of debt, brings people out of problems. Na'am. لكن كم منا ندعو الله أو يدعو الله بهذه الصفة العظيمة. فمن الليلة نعم نبدأ بهذا يا رب الفلق. يعني خرجني، فرج عني. نعم. طيب. So when the darkness split and the morning came, the Prophet prayed with them what? Fajr. ثم أتاه اليوم الثاني. Now the next day, he came to him. حين ظل الرجل مثل شخصه, when the shade of something was equal to it. فصنع مثل ما صنع بالأمس فصلى الظهر. Nah. When the will of something was equal to it, I mean at the end of the time of Dhuhr, Jibreel came to him and he prayed what? Dhuhr. Now, for all the salawat, they go straight all the way up to the next salah. The time of Dhuhr goes all the way up to Asr, and Asr goes all the way up to Maghrib. في هناك وقت الكراهية, ولكن إذا واحد ما صلى العصر لابد يصليها حتى هو قبل المغرب. The waqt of the time of Dhuhr goes all the way to Asr. The time of Asr goes all the way up to Maghrib. The time of Maghrib goes all the way up to Isha. Na'am. And the time of Isha goes all the way up to Fajr. Na'am. هذا وقت اختياري وهناك وقت الضراري. There's a chosen time and there's a time that you actually have to make it. Except Fajr, but the time of Fajr ends once the sun totally comes up. Na'am. ثم أتاه حين وجبت ثم أتاه حين ذر الرجل مثل شخصي. Then he came to him when the shade of something was the twice of it. فصلى الظهر and صلى العصر. Then he prayed with them Asr. ثم أتاه حين وجبت الشمس. As from Maghrib, he didn't change the time. Maghrib and Fajr, he prayed at the same time. نعم. حين وجبت الشمس فصنع كما صنع بالأمس فصلى المغرب. He came to him when the sun set and he prayed what? He prayed Maghrib. قال فنمنا ثم قمنا ثم نمنا ثم قمنا فأتى فصنع كما صلى الأمس فصلى العشاء. And he صلى العشاء متأخرة. نعم. He said then we went to sleep and then we woke up and then we went to sleep and then we woke up again. Then we prayed Isha. And at the end of the hadith, this is the end of the hadith, is to show that these are the times of the salah. These are the times of salah. Each salah, it reaches right up before the salah that comes after it. For the time of Dhuhr is when the sun comes out of the middle of the sky. But it goes all the way up before the time of Asr. And the time of Asr, when the shade of something is equal to it. And that goes all the way up before the sun sets. هناك وقت كراهية ينظر في هذا وقت آخر. There's a time that of praying that is disliked to pray during that time. But we look at that at another time. The waqt of Maghrib is when the sun sets. So the Prophet on both days, he prayed Maghrib at the same time. He prayed Maghrib at the same time. And it's a short time. It's a very short time. Out of all the times that we pray, the time of Maghrib is the shortest. بارك الله فيكم. في حديث أخرى آخر في هذا ولكن نكتفي بهذا اليوم. في حديث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لولا أشق على أمتي لصلى عشاء في هذا الوقت يعني متأخرا. He said if I wasn't that I was putting a burden on my ummah, I would pray Isha at this time, meaning when it's late. When it's late. That's the better time as far as reward. But you need to make it easy for the people. it's good to pray as soon as it comes in. What time does Isha come in? How do you know when Isha comes in? Ghiyab al-Shafaq, when the redness of the sky. When Maghrib, how do you know when Maghrib comes in? And the Gharabat al-Shams, the Shams goes. What if you don't see the sun go down? What do you look for? Where are you going to find the Ahmar? In the eastern sky. Dhuhr and Asr has to do with shade. And Dhuhr is when there appears the shade. نعم. كلها يحتاج دراسة. نكتفي بهذا القدر اليوم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت. أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Allah.